Hey guys, so a lot of people have been talking about Nintendo third-party support with the Wii U and basically saying that the Switch may not get third-party support as much as we want it to, the fans, because the Wii U did not get that third-party support. And a lot of people don't really understand why. They always think it's because of sales, and that did play into it, don't get me wrong. Sales are a big deal for third parties, obviously, but there's a couple other reasons, and we'll go into that now. But first I want to say, guys, I did drawings for all the prizes and everything. Having a hard time getting hold of you guys. Just check your inboxes on YouTube, please, and if you get back to me, that'd be great. Okay, but jumping into the Wii U. Now, when the Wii U came out, they made a bit of a mistake. I think it came out at a weird time. They kind of had to bring it out, obviously, because they needed to get started, probably moving on to the next thing. But the Wii U came out, and it was kind of at that weird point where it was a little before the Xbox One and the PS4, and it was going to end up going up against them, even though it wanted to be up against, obviously, the 360 and the PS3 based on its power. But when it came out, they went with a PowerPC architecture for the CPU. And if you guys look at the Wii U specs, which I'm going to put up here in a second, as best I can, but believe it or not, finding the Wii U specs is actually really difficult. There's not a lot of stuff out there about it. In fact, the only way we know a lot about it is because someone actually took it apart and reverse engineered it and took pictures of the die and everything. Otherwise, we wouldn't have much info at all on it. All we know is the clock speed. But basically, if we go down, and IBM did create it because they were basically the engineers, and basically they went ahead with PowerPC. Okay, IBM and PowerPC also powered, essentially, they powered Wii U and they powered the Wii. Okay, and a lot of people look at the Wii U's processor and they kind of have this weird assumption that it's basically a tri-core Wii processor, which it kind of is, but it's at least newer. Now the Wii, of course, used basically a GameCube processor that was overclocked to meet very, very small graphical demands. The best looking game, obviously, is like probably Mario Sunshine 2. But if we go into the Wii U and we look at its processor, it runs at a frequency of 1.24 gigahertz. It's a tri-core, so it has 3 cores. Again, using that PowerPC architecture. The GPU, however, in the Wii U is actually really good. It's a good GPU. Definitely more powerful than the 360, definitely more powerful than the PS3s. It's much newer. And it is using 2 gigs of DDR3. According to this, 1 gig was used for the OS, the other gig is used for the games. So it splits it right down the middle, and you can basically go either way with that. Some people don't think a gig's enough. I personally think probably around that time they probably could have put 3 in there, to be honest. But the CPU, it's a very weak CPU compared to the PS3 CPU, which is very, very weird that Sony did that because it's very powerful, but no one knew how to use it at the time. And honestly, some people are still trying to figure out how to use it. But the system itself, the GPU is actually based on R7, R600, R700 architecture from AMD and ATI, which places it if you're a big graphics card enthusiast. I don't know if you remember this far back, but it would have been based on like the 4000 series, so like a 4850, probably like a 4770 is more so its speed, and that was good. That placed it above the 360 and the PS3 in terms of graphics. But the big problem they ran into here was that the CPU was on dying architecture. PowerPC is not very accepted anymore in terms of home consoles, computers. It kind of died. Remember the G5, the Apple G5? That used PowerPC, and that was it. Apple ended up cutting that, and then they went with Intel's x86. And really the whole market was going away from PowerPC because you'd have to be labor intensive to go from x86 to PowerPC. It was more work than they wanted to do for a system that did not have a huge audience. So of course, why would you spend the man hours and the resources going backwards to an older architecture like the Wii U and making it work on that lower frequency when you can just program for the upcoming PS4 and Xbox One at the time, or program with what you know, because they've been working on 360 and PS3 at that point. Like if it's EA or if it's Activision, you've been programming with the PS3 and the 360 for a while now. Just stick with what you know. Obviously, they've probably built up basically like templates essentially and programming and stuff for it. Stick with what you know. Don't jump on this Wii U thing has at that time, probably when they're looking at it, like 6-7 million units sold. Again, your audience is going to be a lot smaller than that because you're only going to get a percentage of the large picture there. So they got away from that. They didn't want to program for a system that would essentially lose them money from all the R&D and the stuff they have to put in to get it to work, their new games that are programmed for x86 and stuff for the newer systems to then work for PowerPC. It just didn't make any sense to them. And that was a big blow to Nintendo. I don't know why they went with this. I assume it was to save money because they wanted to put a tablet with the system, which the tablet costs money. The Wii U tablet, it was not cheap. That is an expensive item if you look at it if you're comparing it to the system. If you go online and try to buy one, at the time it was like $180. Nintendo didn't even really sell them separately. And the system itself was built, obviously I'm not going to say not well. It wasn't built with the strongest parts in mind to make an impact on the gaming community. And that's just what Nintendo does. They want to save money, and I get that. It's a business. You want to make money on your items. The other guys don't make money on their stuff, and I get Nintendo's thing is to do that. But the processor hurt it. It really did. It was a bottleneck to the system. Now, bottleneck, if you don't know, is a part of a system, an entire system, a complete system, that will then slow down the other parts because it cannot pull its essentially fair share of the system's power. And so the GPU, there were a lot of workarounds that happened with the GPU, and the RAM was probably fine, honestly, because the CPU, now I think about it, because the CPU was only so strong anyway, so it would only be able to dump so many resources into RAM when it's using it. It's almost like if you took a really nice video card and then you want a quad-core processor, but you drop a dual-core Core 2 Duo or something with it. Like you get a Titan and you put that with a Core 2, it's going to start to bottleneck that Titan X. That's just the way it is. I'm not saying this is a Titan X in here, obviously, but even this would struggle with a tri-core system that is built on PowerPC architecture that's like 1.20 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. So the real problem the Wii U ran into was, in fact, its architecture with the CPU. Now, if you are a Nintendo fan right now and you're looking forward to the Switch, this should give you a lot of hope because Nintendo definitely learned their lesson here. They said, you know what? The architecture of the CPU probably turned a lot of third parties off because it was a pain to work on. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take the most cutting edge, easy to program for thing, which is an ARM processor, guys, and we're going to build an entire system around a processor that, from what we can tell, that's not even out yet. We're just going to build on it. We're going to give them the tools to create games for it, and it's going to be powerful, and they're going to have a much better time programming for it than they are for the Wii U. Probably even the Wii at that time, but definitely the Wii U. And I think I think the developers are enjoying it. There was a really cool, really cool interview that Super Metal Dave 64 did with the developers of SteamWorld Dig, and you could see that they talk about the system being very powerful. Granted, they're an indie company, so they're not going to use as much power as, say, a Call of Duty may use from Activision. But it gives you a lot of hope. It's easy to program for, which is great. The NVIDIA CEO came out and said, hey, it's very easy to move stuff from x86 to here. So porting games would not be a problem. So, but if you look back, you can kind of see mistakes made, and you can see that they're trying to correct them and move into the Switch. So it should give you a lot of hope that we will see more third parties on here because the architecture is fine, it's easy to program for, it's ready to go. So as long as they come out and they say, yes, we're using cutting-edge Tegra stuff, the companies, third parties in particular, will be like, great, we know how to program for that, let's do it. So it's just going to come down to pushing these units out, like I've said a million times now. Push units out, and the third parties will stick with it because it's easy to program for and they know how to do it. So, but yes, guys, I will catch you tomorrow. Again, please check your inboxes so I can announce some winners. I want to make sure I can get the thing to you before I announce you as the winner. So please check your inboxes, guys. I will see you tomorrow.